Hello and welcome to the Luminous Fiber Arts Flosstube channel. I'm Misty Purcell. I am a cross-stitch designer. I love to design cute and whimsical cross-stitch patterns to make you smile. I'm excited to be back with you today to talk about some new designs that I have coming out for Christmas. So hang on tight, get your favorite hot beverage because we're going to be talking about new releases, some Halloween designs from an exchange I did with some friends, giveaway winners for Ada fabric from my last video. We'll be talking about upcoming tutorials and a little bit about what other fiber arts I've been working on since you last saw me. So let's talk about my new releases for Christmas this year. First up is a perfect Christmas. So a perfect Christmas for a stitcher or someone who sews would be a stocking filled with sewing and stitching goodies such as embroidery floss, a hoop, and other goodies packaged inside of gifts, candy cane, and a quilted stocking, of course, is the perfect container for these kinds of gifts. But those are not just the perfect gift for a stitcher, they're also the perfect gift for a kitty because kitties will find and claim anything as their own that amuses them. And in this case, the embroidery thread is looking very attractive. And you can see how delighted this kitty is by the gift that's actually for her, not the human. So this was a really fun design to come up with. It was actually an illustration that I did just for fun. And I was creating this illustration in Procreate of the kitty playing with the floss in the stocking. And then I just thought, oh, maybe I could turn that into a cross stitch design, and I was really happy with how it came out. So this was just so much fun. I love cats, and just I love putting stitching goodies in a design. So this was just really fun for me to create. And then I ended up creating a greeting card to give this a scene. So this is the coordinating greeting cards. This is what the illustration looked like originally, but it didn't have a background. And then I obviously changed some things in the design itself. But this was the inspiration. So I also have a greeting card available to coordinate with the design should you wish to coordinate. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about the supplies that you would need to stitch this. This was stitched on 32 count under the mistletoe linen by Forbidden Fiber Company. It uses a mix of overdyed flosses and DMC. And the Rick Rack is Sizzle from Lady Dot Creates. Here's the back of the pillow. There's Baker's twine that's red and white. I got this at Michael's. You can find it in the gift wrap aisle. Not the holiday, but just regular. The snowflake charm is from an Etsy shop. It's listed on the pattern. And then the felted wool pom-pom balls are also from an Etsy shop, and that's also listed on the pattern. So I just did a simple pillow finish. The design is a square. It's gonna finish at, let me just double check that I have the right information for you. 4 by 4 inches is the stitched area on 32 count. You could make it into an ornament, like a large ornament also. And a couple of ideas. So I finished it with fabric on the bottom to make it taller, which would be a good finish, especially if you're going to do something like a tiered tray or some kind of bowl where you'd have a ledge and some of this might get covered up. If you're thinking of putting it on a shelf, you might like to put some fabric to keep it this height, but maybe add some fabric here on the side, like a little narrow strip of fabric over here to make it a little longer possibly, or you could just finish it as a square. But having something like this on a shelf would be good in terms of height, possibly, depending on your shelf height. So good to display on a shelf, possibly an ornament, good to display in a dough bowl or tiered tray. Maybe put some greenery with it or some stitching supplies. That could be cute too. So I have the fabric, floss, and trim, the overdyed floss and trim on my website while supplies last, and I have the fabric in some other counts and bases. So this has full cross, some back and long stitches. I just love the whiskers on this kitty. They look so fluffy. And Am I missing anything else? Nope, just that the greeting card is also available. The pattern is available in print or PDF format. You can purchase it on my website, luminousfiberarts.com. Next up is delivering holiday cheer. Santa and Rudy are here delivering holiday cheer. So I spent some time falling down the rabbit hole of illustration from the 1950s and 60s, so mid-century modern illustration style, and looking at, you know, what artists were doing, what was like the lettering like, what were the characters like at that time. And I just really fell in love with the simplicity and graphic nature of that era. And so I was looking at artwork from other artists and trying to kind of understand it and see if I could recreate it. And then I made, in Procreate, I made a Santa and shared him, and there was interest in seeing if that could be a cross-stitch pattern, and I decided to give it a try. And I'm really happy with how he came out, and I felt like he needed a friend. So I created Rudy, and it was really fun to do these because, you know, the Santa is a little bit different body style than I've done in the past. I love his legs. It was really fun to work in a different way than what I have worked before. I really enjoyed the reindeer. I tend to do things that are kind of more proportionally correct. And it was really fun to do Rudy, you know, with some interesting shapes and not like exactly accurate, but really cute and fun. So these two are the same size, just oriented different directions. They're both stitched on 32 count caramel by Seraphim. They were stitched beautifully by Pamela Ray. Thank you, Pamela, for stitching them. So they have a little bit of snowflakes with beads, and I loved the beads. And then there's also beads around the edge. The floss is a mix of over-dyed and DMC. There is some back stitching as well as full crosses, some long stitching, and then there are 2 fractional stitches in Santa's mouth at the bottom to give it that kind of U shape. You could omit those if you're not comfortable doing the fractional stitches. So I really love, yeah, I just love how these turned out. I feel like they're very me, and they were a lot of fun to design. So the trim is the same as A Perfect Christmas. It's sizzle. Here's the back in case you want to see. I just matched the rickrack essentially. And the beads, I list what they are on the pattern. They're a size 11 bead. I like beads that are kind of pearlescent and iridescent so that they just are more eye-catching. So that's what I used, but you can look for something else. But size 11 is a good size for this. And then I liked using the beads around the edge just to kind of add interest. And I think it kind of, you know, echoes the snowflakes and just, yeah, makes things more interesting. So Santa then is 4.3 inches high by 3.6 inches wide on 32 count. Rudy's the opposite, so he's 3.6 inches high by 4.3 inches wide. These would be super cute in a dough bowl, on a shelf. If you stitch them over one, they'd be really cute as ornaments. Or you could do them as large ornaments and hang them somewhere too, like from like a doorknob on a cabinet or something. That could be really cute. So lots of options. Maybe tuck them in with some shiny bright ornaments and like a fake snowflake or two and some greenery. That would be super cute. I should do that next year, actually. So the pattern is available in print and PDF format on my website. And I have fabric and floss packs, overdyed floss packs, and I have the rickrack trim while supplies last. And so I will link my website, luminousfiberarts.com, in the video description. And you can also check with your needlework shop if you'd like them to get it in for you. You can ask them to get these patterns in. So those are my new releases, and I just love them. So I hope that you will love stitching them too, and that they will bring a smile to your face this holiday season or future holiday seasons as you stitch and display them. So each year I do a Halloween swap with Helen and Barbie. Helen D, also known as East Coast Crafter, and Barbie of Barbie's Pedal Pusher. We've been doing exchanges for several years now. Sometimes we do Christmas, sometimes we do Halloween. So I'm gonna send you in the Wayback Machine to a video I made a while ago about what I sent to them for our exchange. And then I'll bring you back to the present to show you what I received in the exchange. So I'm popping in to share with you a gift that I made for Helen and Barbie for our annual swap. So for many years now, I've been swapping a gift with Helen D and Barbie from Barbie's Pedal Pusher. And so I asked if we could do Halloween this year because I love doing Halloween for swaps, and they agreed. So I decided to stitch them each from this book by Blackbird Designs, the Tis Halloween book, the stocking here. And let me see if I can show you another photo up close. I'll cover up the chart. So super cute. And it called for 30 count, and I used 32, which was great because it gave me some extra room around the template. But you can see it turned out super cute. So I stitched this on 32 count Candle Glow linen from Color and Cotton, and I used all of the charted flosses except I used the recommended substitute, DMC substitute for the white, which was ecru. But otherwise I used the overdyed flosses that were in the model. And I love how this turned out. So there's two of them that are the same, except I did the hangers a little bit differently, two different colors. So this one's kind of more orangey, and then this one is more golden. And I think both look really good. And then I made a little candy cane out of orange and black pipe cleaners so that they could just have a little decoration in them. And then I just used quilting cotton on the back. So I wanted to talk about how I finished these because I know that looking at them can seem kind of intimidating, and it honestly was not difficult, but I have some tips for you that I think would help you to finish them. So the pattern comes with a template. The template would be for the 30 count. So it ends up being that my stitched area was smaller, so I had extra room around the template, which worked out well. Obviously, you would need to adjust the size of the template if you were to stitch on a higher count, or excuse me, a lower count than 30. And you might want to adjust the template if you stitched on a much higher count than 30. So like 36 or 40, you might need to resize your template as well. So they give you a template, and what I think is helpful, I'll show you what it looks like because I'm not showing you any of the chart. This is what the template looks like. So you photocopy it. I think there's two ways you could do it. You could either, instead of photocopying it, you could trace it onto freezer paper and do both directions, because you need one direction for your backing fabric and one direction for your stitched area. But that way you could just fuse it to the wrong side and it would stay in place as you cut out for the seam allowance. So basically the template gives you like your stitching line, and then you need to leave a 1/4 inch seam allowance except a 1/2 inch on the top to fold in at the end. So what I did was I just used a piece of paper and I printed it out on my printer, and then I pinned it to my stitching and to my backing fabric. And then what I did is I finger pressed around it, which is what they say to do, but then I also went to my steam iron after I finger pressed it and steam pressed it, and that made it stay really well so that when I took the paper out, the fold line was like really crisp. The only thing that I wish I had done differently is my backing fabric. I had washed it for something else. I don't know if I was doing applique or what. I don't generally wash my quilting fabric first, but it made it hard to keep the seam flat. So I wish I had starched it. I think if I had not washed it, it might have been fine, but you might find that it's useful to starch the backing fabric just to give it more body so that when you press it, it really stays flat and you don't have to fight it when you're whip stitching it together. So my tips are to keep the paper or use freezer paper in place after you finger pressed it, and then steam press it as well with your iron just to get it really, really flat and really well ironed in the shape that you need before you go ahead and try to sew it together. So the iron helps a lot with just making that seam very crisp and obvious. So that helped a lot. And I think the freezer paper could be a good option too, as long as you don't end up kind of folding the freezer paper itself. The other thing that I wanted to mention about how I stitched it, I ended up using a polyester thread just because that's what I could find that matched it, but I felt like the polyester thread disappeared really well into the fabric, so that on the front, and I was also careful to take tiny stitches, but you really can't see my stitches very much at all. So they really disappeared. So I did like using it. It seemed a little bit thinner. I used like a Gutermann, I think it was Gutermann polyester thread. So I was really happy with that. It was just a regular sewing thread for a sewing machine. And then for the beads, these are size 6 beads, which I think is what they recommend. And I just was able to buy some at a craft store. And I ended up, for the thread that I used, I ended up using hand quilting thread because I have some on hand and it's a little bit thicker than a sewing machine's thread would be. And I thought that that worked really well, but you might have like a beading thread that you could use instead. I don't, so I thought that that would work well. And then you just kind of sew it in place. They don't tell you how to sew it in place, so I just like knotted the end and try to hide it in. But since the fold here isn't like finished, like it can come up, I found that one of the stockings, it didn't want to stay down, so I added a little glue in between the layers here just to keep this from popping out. So you might want to add a little craft glue as well. And then for the candy cane, I just bought some orange and some black pipe cleaners and twisted them together and cut them apart and made 2 little candy canes. So this was really fun. It was very doable and they were a pretty quick stitch. I'm sad I didn't make one for me, but I didn't because I was just about getting it done for Helen and Barbie. And these are small, so I was able to stitch these on, you know, some Edmunds mini stretcher bars, which was super, super convenient. And so they were a good project. You use a little bit of fusible interfacing on the inside, but they were very straightforward and, you know, you just go one step at a time with the directions and it's very, very simple. So I would recommend giving these stockings a try if you've been wanting to. They're not, you know, I was a bit intimidated, but once you read the instructions and just take it step by step, it's not a problem. So yeah, I was really excited and happy with how they came out. And so I hope that Helen and Barbie will love their stockings, and I'm excited to see what they have for me. It's always really a fun thing to do an exchange with a friend if you can. And I'm very lucky, I know, to have some friends I get to do that with. So I hope you enjoyed this little portion of the video about the stockings, and now back to our regularly scheduled programming. Okay, back to the present. So I received some awesome gifts from Helen and Barbie. This was made by Helen. This is from Threadwork Primitives. Isn't that an awesome finish on this spool? So cool, and you could even stick something inside the spool too that's Halloween themed. I love it. I've stitched some Threadwork Primitives designs and they're really nice. And this is just such a cool finish. Thank you so much, Helen. And then Barbie sent me a Prairie Schooler, and I love this finish too. How awesome is that? So creative, and I just love it. I don't have anything tombstone currently, so this is my first tombstone display for Halloween. Seems kind of weird that I don't have anything like this, but I don't. It's great with the purple fabric. I really like it. So yes, I'm very lucky, and thank you, Barbie and Helen, for the awesome gifts. I feel very fortunate to have such wonderful friends and to receive such lovely gifts from them. It's really fun to do these swaps. I enjoy them. So now I'd like to share the giveaway winners from last video. I chose 4 winners for a piece of Fiber on a Whim fabric. This is Affogato and it's 16 count Aida. So I just randomly chose people from the comments using the random comment picker. And so the winners are Terry W, A Simpler Life, Crombie TX, GG4768, and Karen Lovejoy 16194. So if each of you would kindly send me an email at misty@luminousfiberarts.com with your mailing information, then I will get these mailed out to you, and I hope that you will love stitching on these pieces of fabric. And thank you again to Fiber on a Whim for making this possible, this giveaway possible. Is really, really kind of you to do that. So happy stitching to the giveaway winners and congratulations. So I'm going to have some awesome tutorials coming up for you. I am going to have a tutorial on how to do a pillow finish, just like I do, because a lot of people have asked for a tutorial like that. So that will be coming up soon. I also will have a video on how to put rickrack with beads around the edge of a pillow. Those will be 2 separate videos. And then I'll have another quasi tutorial coming up as well that's Christmas themed. So be watching for those. Make sure that you like this video and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on those videos. And if you want early access to tutorial videos, make sure that you sign up for my newsletter. I'll put the link in the video description, because newsletter subscribers get access to video tutorials before the public does. They get a private link to see the videos sooner than everyone else does as a thank you for being subscribers. So if you're a newsletter subscriber, you get early access. So please sign up for the newsletter if you'd like that option. It's a great feature for newsletter subscribers. So I've been doing some more weaving. Finished up another batch of towels. I'm really like on a roll here lately because after like a dry spell of not weaving. This is a design I did a long time ago and I really liked it. It looks kind of like circles and then it almost looks like there's a little flower in the middle there. So I'm thinking of these as kind of wreaths. Really pretty. So the warp is white, and as you can see here, and then the weft is this kind of cherry red color. I'm calling this my cranberries and cream towels, and these I'm calling the wreaths. So that's that. And I ended up with 5 towels plus some yardage. So I did 2 of that design. The yardage is going to be to sew with later. I've been wanting yardage for a while, and I just haven't gotten around to weaving something just to sew with it. Then I did this star towel. On the other side, it kind of looks like a snowflake. And I couldn't decide which way to go, but I decided to go with the red as the quote-unquote right side. Not that you have to do it that way. It's just the way that I hemmed it. That this is the back because of the way I hemmed it. But you could choose to do something different if you wanted to. So these are nice towels. They're a little over 19 inches wide. And then they range a little bit from about 24 inches long to 27 inches long, depending on the towel. And I've washed and dried and shrunk them. I put them on hot water and I used color catchers to make sure that they wouldn't run on you. This is my favorite of the batch. This was a new to me pattern. And so on this side, you can see it's so pretty. It looks like mosaic tiles. So I'm calling this the trellis side. And then if you flip it over, it also looks like a mosaic tile, but a different like kind of floral pattern. It's so pretty. So just flipping it over, it looks totally different. So I did one with this as the right side and one with the other side as the right side. So I love these. I will have to weave them again. And I made a small mistake in each one. They're going to be a little discounted because counting is hard, whether you're weaving or stitching. So those are my towels. And then I think I mentioned in my last video that I was thinking about getting, maybe I should say, a new loom. So I went up to Massachusetts. I found there's a weaving store in Massachusetts called Webb's. And they have a newer version of the loom that I have had, the David. They have what's called the David 3. I wanted to try that out. And then they did not have the other loom that I wanted to try, which is called a Spring. It's the same company, Louette. But they didn't have that loom. So I found someone who lives in that town who was nice enough to let me come to her house, a complete stranger, and try out her loom. So that was awesome. So I scheduled it, and then I promptly came down with a cold, which was a huge bummer. Lost my voice almost. Had to reschedule it for the week later. Luckily, everything worked out. My mom came with me. She drove from Michigan to drive then with me like another 8 hours basically to Massachusetts. And I got to try out the loom at Tamar's house. Hers was the Spring. It's a Spring 2. So there was an earlier model called the Spring. And then I tried out the David 3. and they were both really nice. I really loved the spring. So I was like, okay. And I hadn't thought that I'd necessarily be getting it this year. I wasn't sure. I kind of wanted to try it out before Black Friday in case there were any Black Friday sales I could maybe take advantage of. But Tamar recommended to me the place where she bought her loom, which was Fine Line in Illinois. And so I was able to order one from them, and it came from the Netherlands, hung out in customs for a while, and then showed up here. And I dragged these huge boxes into the house. And then I quickly put up my Christmas, took down my Halloween, put up my Christmas stuff because I needed the room to put up the loom. And then I spent, you know, a weekend, like Friday afternoon and most of Saturday, putting the loom together. There's a video on YouTube about how to assemble it. And I had the assembly instructions and ran into various issues, but I did get it together at the end. And then I got a new warp on it, and I started weaving, and I'm really loving it. It's such a great loom. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm still getting used to it. It has a different feel than my other loom, but it's great. So just to quickly mention a few differences, it has more pattern chefs, so I can do more complex weaving if I want to. It's a wider loom, so I can do wider widths, which is something I did want to do. It also has a different system where the current loom, the first loom that I had here, the David, when you push on a treadle, these cams kind of turn, and then the shafts go down and they bounce back up. And this has a counter march system where some get pulled down and some get pulled up and down, and it creates more like even tension on the warp. And it's just really easy to push down on the treadles to do the patterning, and I love it. I love the beater that you pull towards you to pack the yarn in. That feels really nice. It's a little bit more work to tie up 4 patterns because you have to tie up every shaft. You can't just tie up the ones that you need like on the other loom. So it does take more time, but I'm just loving it. It's like such a treat to weave on, and I feel so lucky to get to use it. So I'm really enjoying it, and just having a good time with my new toy. And now I am not like allowed to buy anything ever again. I have no business buying anything else, but of course, like there's like supplies that I need for this loom, so there will be a little bit more purchasing. But yeah, so I'm having a great time with the new loom and planning to, you know, I'm packed in pretty tight here at this point with 2 looms in the living room. So the Luette David will have to get sold at some point. So I'm just trying to kind of get a little bit more adjusted to this loom, and maybe after the holidays or something, I'll start looking into finding a new home for that loom. Because I just don't really have the room for 2 looms. I mean, they're fitting in right now, but it's a little tight. So yeah, so that's what I've been up to. The semester is coming to an end quickly, and it's been a very good fall semester. And so thanks for all of your good wishes for my semester. I really appreciate it. I hope that you have a wonderful holiday season. And as I said, I've got videos coming out over the next several weeks, so watch for those. But I probably won't have like a regular update video again until after the new year. So I hope that you have wonderful holidays. Merry Christmas to you. And thank you so much for watching. Take care, friends.